I recently had a subscriber tell me that he was really struggling with how to draw a horse's legs. And I understand the anatomy of a horse's legs is really unique and interesting and very different from a person. And so today I'm just going to show you guys how to draw the legs on a horse. Now, of course, the front legs and the hind legs are different shapes, but they do have some of the same terms. So I'm going to start with the front leg. I want you to think of it like three separate parts. So we'll have the upper forearm of the leg, so to speak. You'll have the knee, and then you'll have the lower portion of the leg. And the lower portion of the leg has a lot of anatomy to it. We'll discuss that here in a minute. So I'm going to start by deciding about how tall I want this leg to be. I'm going to make the top of the horse's body right about here, and I'm going to bring the foot right about here. Now the knee is pretty much exactly halfway in the middle, and so we're going to just draw a very, very light circle to indicate the knee, and hoof will be down here. So the muscles in the top of the leg are actually labeled very similarly to a human body. On the front of the leg you have the extensors, and in the back of the leg you have the flexors. So that's really similar to what you would have like with the arm. You'd have a bicep and a tricep. So in the forearm, there is a curve that comes down and back a little bit before reaching the knee. And some of these shapes, because they're so organic, it just takes practice and studying some anatomical drawings. So the back of the leg isn't quite as curvy as the front. You would say the muscle isn't quite as large. And then keep in mind that that knee is really an oval shape. There's a lot of bones and tendons going on in there. So there's the knee, and then when you bring the back of the leg down, you're going to come about 2/3 of the way down to where you marked your hoof, okay? And that is where the fetlock is going to begin. Now the fetlock is almost like the ankle of the horse's foot, and it creates another circular shape. You can almost draw a little circle right here and imagine the shape of the fetlock there. And then you connect this line down like that. And then between the hoof and the fetlock, you have what's called the pastern. And it's just a bone that connects the fetlock to the hoof. And it's a little skinnier than the fetlock. So it comes in, gets skinny, almost like the arch of a foot. And then it flares out and widens again just at the top of the hoof. And this little flaring section above the hoof is called the coronet. Think of it as like a crown on top of the hoof. And so that is actually going to be almost like a large wrinkle over the top of the hoof. So there's the coronet, and then the hoof is larger in the front and comes down as a little shorter in the back. So you'd have a longer straight line here in the front, of course at an angle, and then the line in the back, again at that same parallel angle, it's just a little bit shorter. Okay, so there's the front leg. Now I can tell here that this front part of the leg actually needs to come forward a little bit. It's dipping back, and that's not quite correct. So after you've done your initial drawing, you can make little adjustments like this and fix your anatomy. It's rarely perfect the first time. So just practice a lot. Study drawings and photographs of a horse's legs. And just think of it in those three sections: the upper portion, the knee, the bottom portion. You could even break the bottom portion into a whole nother section here with all the things that are going on within that lower part of the leg. And then to make it look more 3D, remember that everything is filled out and shaped and visible to us because of the light that's on it. And of course, where there's light, there's also shadow. So to make it look more 3D, you can add little shadows or shading underneath the fetlock and also underneath the knee, mimicking that. And then you have these tendons here running in the lower portion of the leg. Usually 2 lines here that indicate the tendons. And for the upper portion of the leg, you have a really strong line almost in the middle that defines the separation of those muscles, the front muscles and the back muscles. And so that's already looking quite realistic. And if you want to make the hoof look really realistic, you can add a shine to it. So you can maybe come down here with a shadow and then get a little lighter as you come towards the front of the hoof, and then leave a little shine right there. And there's a whole bunch of anatomy, of course, in the top of the leg as it connects to the body, but we won't get into that today. So let's look at the differences between the front leg and the hind leg. Now the hind leg really has the same terminology as the front leg. You still have a cannon, that's this bone here between the knee and the ankle, or the knee and the pastern. And so on the hind leg, you also have a cannon bone. You will still have a fetlock and a pastern and a cornet and a hoof. The difference is, instead of a knee, you're going to have a hock. So the hock is shaped a little different than the knee. Let's once again mark the top where we're going to indicate the belly of the horse will be right here. This will be the back of the horse, and the hoof will come down to here. And then the hock, again, just like the knee, is about a halfway point between the top of the leg and the bottom of the leg. Once again, if you want, you can indicate a little circular shape for the hock if that helps you visualize it a little better when you're making those connections. And you can put a circle for the fetlock too. So if you want to start with something like that, that'll help you block everything in and see where you want to put it, and then you can make the connecting lines later. Now you can see for the hock, for the back leg, there's going to be more of a pushing back of this line here. It comes back and in towards the horse, and then begins to curve around and up as you come to the buttock of the horse. This shape here is a little bit wider than the front leg of the horse. There is a large muscle here called the gaskin. So that's different from the foreleg of the horse. But just like the foreleg, you still have different muscles that flex and different muscles that extend. So there's this almost rounded shape right here where this muscle is. This rounded shape creates the gaskin muscle. And this comes up towards the flank of the horse. All right, so there's the top portion of the leg, and you can make it real muscular if you want. All right, so let's draw the hock. We're gonna just flesh this out a little bit, so to speak. Comes to a little point right here, and then extends in a straight line down towards the fetlock. And I put the fetlock in the wrong position, so I'm going to move that over. And once again, just like in the front leg, you have this almost circular shape for the fetlock, and the cannon bone is quite slender. Sometimes I think it's amazing how strong and muscular and heavy a horse is, and the legs are so skinny, but these bones are really, really sturdy. And again, you'll want to draw a tendon in the middle between the cannon, showing those tendons there. And then again, for the pastern, it's just a little skinnier than the fetlock, and then flares out into the cornet just above the hoof. And the hoof is exactly the same shape on the back as it is on the front. Once again, you can add some shading to make it look a little more realistic. You can flesh out that coronet. You can darken below the fetlock and below the hock. Fill that in with shading to make it look even more realistic. And so there you can clearly see the difference between the front leg and the hind leg. Most of it happens up here. This is really, really similar. I hope you found this video helpful. If you're trying to learn how to draw horses, the legs can be really tricky. And of course, they do change shape when the horse is moving, walking, or running. So that's something else. You want to just study your photos really closely. If you are interested in seeing me paint this, just go to emilyolson.com. and you can watch this in real time while I paint these two legs in watercolor, and I'll show you how to do the light and the shadow and the color choices for these legs. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.